So good day everyone, I am Garcia Jinro and I am here to report the Presidential Decree 979, Marine Pollution Decree of 1976. But first, Presidential Decree number 979 was signed on August 19, 1976 to tackle rising threats faced by coral reefs across Philippine waters while also establishing a legal groundwork allowing them protection through law enforcement mechanisms. So, second slide, what is marine pollution? So, marine pollution refers to a range threats from land-based sources and it generally involves contamination of bodies of water such as rivers, streams, and ocean. So, the major causes of marine pollution, so kabilang dito yung mga pagtapon ng langis, pagtapon ng langis sa dagat or yung tinatawag nating oil spills, mga basura, heavy metals na mga nanggagaling sa minahan, and persistent organic pollutants, and also yung overfishing and yung mga marine habitat destruction ay nasasaklaw sa marine pollution. So, dadako po tayo dito sa sa discussion proper doon sa section 1, title, this decree shall be known as the Marine Pollution Decree of 1976. So, the next is section 2, Statement of Policy. It is hereby declared a national policy to prevent and control the pollution of seas by the dumping of wastes and other matter which create hazards to human health, harm living resources and marine life, damage amenities, or interfere with the legitimate uses of the sea within the territorial jurisdiction of the Philippines. So, next, Section 3, Definition of terms for the purposes of discharge decree. So, meron po tayong letter A, discharge. It includes but it is not limited to any spilling, leaking, pumping, pouring, emitting, emptying, or dumping, but does not include discharge of effluents from industrial or manufacturing establishments or mill of any kind. So, letter B, dumping means any deliberate disposal at sea and into navigable waters of wastes or other matter from vessels, aircraft, platforms, or any other man-made structures at sea, including the disposal of wastes or other matter directly arising from or related to the exploration, exploitation, and associated offshore processing of seabed mineral resources unless the same is permitted and or regulated under this decree, provided that it does not mean a disposition of any effluent from any outfall structure to the extent that such disposition is regulated under the provisions of Republic Act number 3939, nor does it mean a routine discharge of effluent or other matter incidental to the propulsion of or derived from the normal operations of vessels, aircraft, platforms, or other man-made structures at sea and their equipment. Next is letter C, oil. So, means oil of any kind or in any form including but not limited to petroleum, fuel oil, sludge, oil refuse, and oil mix with wastes other than dredged spoil. So, letter D, navigable waters, means the waters of the Philippines, including the territorial sea and inland waters which are presently or be in the future susceptible for use by watercraft. Letter E, vessel, means every description of watercraft or other artificial contrivance used or capable of being used as a means of transportation on water. Next is letter F, person. Includes any being, natural or juridical, susceptible of rights and obligations or of being the subject of legal relations. And last is letter G, refuse. So means garbage, waste, wood residues, sand, lime, cinders, ashes, offal, night soil, tar, dye, stuffs, acids, chemicals and substances other than sewage and industrial wastes that may cause pollution. So we have the section 4, prohibited acts, except in cases of emergency, imperiling life or property, or unavoidable accident, collision, or stranding, or in any cases which constitute danger to human life or property or a real threat to vessels, aircrafts, platforms, or other man-made structure, or it dumping appears to be the only way of averting the threat, and if there is probability what the damage consequent upon such dumping will be less than would otherwise occur, and except as otherwise permitted by regulations prescribed by the National Pollution Control Commission or the Philippine Coast Guard, it shall be unlawful or any person too. Meron tayong tatlo. Ito yung letter A, discharge. Dump or suffer permit the discharge of oil, noxious gaseous, and liquid substances and other harmful substances from or out of any ship, vessel, barge, or any other floating craft or other man-made structures at sea by any method, means, or manner into or upon the territorial and inland navigable waters of the Philippines. So, kung sino man ang mga magtatapon or maglalabas ng langis o nakakalasong gas at iba pang nakakapinsala dulot ng mga sasakyang dagat ay ipinagbabawal. So, next po tayo sa letter B. Throw, discharge, or deposit, dump, or cause, suffer, or procure to be thrown, discharged, or deposited either from or out of any ship, barge, or other floating craft of vessels of any kind or from the shore, wharf, manufacturing establishments, or mill of any kind, and refuse matter of any kind or description, whatever other than that flowing from streets and sewers and passing therefrom in a liquid state into tributary of any navigable water from which the same shall float or be washed into such navigable water. And letter C, deposit or cause, suffer or procure to be deposited material of any kind in any place on the bank of any navigable water or on the bank of any tributary of any navigable water, where the same shall be liable to be washed into such navigable water either by ordinary or high tides, or by storms or floods, or otherwise whereby navigation shall or may be impeded or obstructed or increased by the level of pollution of such water. So yan po yung tatlo, and huwag mo natin kakalimutan yan. Then, next po tayo, section 5. It shall be the primary responsibility of the National Pollution Control Commission to promulgate national rules and policies governing marine pollution, including but not limited to the discharge of effluents from any outfall structure, industrial and manufacturing establishments, or mill of any kind, to the extent that it is regulated under the provisions of Republic Act Number 3931, and to issue the appropriate rules and regulation upon consultation with the Philippine Coast Guard. So, ang ibig sabihin lang nun, dapat ang pangunahing maging responsibilidad ng National Pollution Control Commission ay magsagawa ng mga patakaran na makakatulong sa problema ng polusyon sa mga karagatan. Ang Philippine Coast Guard ay dapat magpahayag ng sarili nitong alituntunin at regulasyon alinsunod sa mga national policies at patakarang itinakda ng National Pollution Control Commission, and for the effective enforcement of this decree and other applicable rules and regulations promulgated by the government. So next po tayo, section 6, enforcement and implementation. The Philippine Coast Guard shall have the primary responsibility of enforcing the laws, rules, and regulations governing marine pollution. However, it shall be the joint responsibility of the Philippine Coast Guard and the National Pollution Control Commission to coordinate and cooperate with each other in the enforcement of the provisions of this decree and its implementing rules and regulations, and may call upon and any other government office, instrumentally or agency to extend every assistance in this respect. So, dapat yung Philippine Coast Guard has the major role sa pagpapatupad ng batas at regulasyon na may kinalaman sa pagpoprotekta at pamamahala ng ating karagatan. So, mas magiging epektibo ang mga isinagawang batas na ito kung ang Philippine Coast Guard at National Pollution Control Commission ay magkakaisa sa pagpapatupad at pagsasaayos ng mga problema na may kinalaman sa marine pollution. So sinasabi rin dito na kung may mga pangyayari o mga bagay na labag sa batas na maaari nitong maapektuhan, ay maaaring makipag-ugnayan sa ating gobyerno na kung saan ganun ay mabigyan ito ng aksyon. So, next is section 7, penalties for violations. Any person who violates section 4 of this decree or any regulations prescribed in pursuant thereof shall be liable for a fine of not less than 200 pesos nor more than 10,000 pesos, or by imprisonment of not less than 30 days nor more than 1 year, or both such fine and imprisonment. So take note for that, both such fine and imprisonment for each offense without prejudice to the civil liability of the offender in accordance with existing laws. So kung sino mang tao ang lalabag sa section 4 ay mananagot ng multang hindi bababa sa 200 piso o higit sa 10,000 piso, o sa pagkakakulong sa hindi bababa sa 30 araw o higit sa 1 taon, or both such fine and imprisonment. So either dun sa dalawa or parehas. Anumang sasakyang pangdagat kung saan ang langis o iba pang maaaring pigilang maglayag sa karagatan, so hanggang sa mabayaran nila ang kanilang multa. In addition to the penalties above prescribed, the Philippine Coast Guard shall provide its rules. So next, section 8, containment recovery system. The Philippine Coast Guard shall develop an adequate capability for containment and recovery of spilled oil for inland waters and high seas use. An initial amount of 5 million pesos is hereby appropriated for the procurement of necessary equipment for this purpose for the succeeding fiscal years, and appropriation for the development of such capability shall be included in the Philippine Coast Guard portion of the General Appropriation Decree. So we go on to the section 9, repealing clause. All laws, rules, and regulations inconsistent with this decree are hereby repealed or modified accordingly. So sa lahat ng mga batas at regulasyon ay hindi naaayon sa batas na ito ay maaaring ipasawalang bisa at maaari nilang palitan kung ano nga ba ang mas magiging epektibo o magiging magandang solusyon sa problema. So last, section 10, effectivity this decree shall effect immediately. So that is my report, and thank you for listening. Thank you guys, and goodbye.